I tried the new A&W. Well, I mean, it's not new, it's just it's new to me because I'm new in this town where I'm setting roots now. And same old when it comes to the cultures in there of related to communication. I explained very clearly to the older Caucasian lady that I would like everything extra cooked. And I mentioned the toast, extra toasted. I mentioned the tomato cooked. The potato, sausage, everything. But I still said, over easy for the eggs. She took a really long time just focusing, not moving at all, except for her hand on the computer to get all this right. And then somebody else asks after, so she has to re-explain it. So I wait a long time for the computer stuff to happen, and then to see the repeating of the communication. But I'm still expecting it won't happen successfully because that's what happens most of the time, right? And it's not because, the Filipinos that I saw there don't have English words, and as many of them as, the locals. And the locals could be First Nations or people of European origins that have been here a long time, the same amount of words and of language. There's just very poor communication, and fast food doesn't improve it, it makes it worse. And technology that isn't used efficiently, like for example, the cook who happens to be the manager there at this time, doesn't have, let's say, a headset where the person could just say, hey, this order number, write this down, it's everything. So when I get the toast, like for example, it's a bit more toasted on one side, the other side is barely toasted. And again, but even if it wasn't toasted, I don't think that bread is fully cooked. Like, it didn't taste fully cooked. And the tomatoes were cold, and the potato was cooked the way I wanted it. But it was the lady who was supposed to bring it to me. She didn't give me a number. And it's not that busy, it's just communication makes it that they're always trying to catch up on stuff. I used the bathroom on the way out, their urinals out of commission, and they were both out of soap. And I'm thinking to myself while I'm waiting, I said, should I talk to this young Filipino guy, is he the manager, and talk about communication being important for their franchise because people go for breakfast there and they often have routines of what it has to be like, and it's often older people and they digest better if, for example, you better toast the bread. And he was happy with the feedback because they don't get that. They don't give it to each other. They don't think of the concept of feedback. That's communication related. They don't get trained with feedback. And so he's grateful. And I said, well, you might make assistant manager someday if you realize how important it is that you get it right and you check with people and you make them happy and you joke around. Because I had to say, because he's making very little effort to listen to me, even though his headset is on one ear. I'm still talking to him at one point, and it's almost like it's a rebelling against the effort of communicating, unless you mention rewards for it. So, this is common, and it's not just Filipinos, but it's definitely Filipinos, 99.996% of the time. And it's sad, but that's the way it is. And it's a disability people get from their cultures and impose on themselves further on more and more as their own choices, whether they're managers or not, or manager wannabes. And it's just, it's just something people don't realize is, as a species, like I said before, we can't even cook our food anymore. And people maybe as Filipinos would like have these parties where they, would usually cook their traditional foods here among themselves in Canada. And I think if they work in franchises too long, you should measure for this. Maybe their food becomes less cooked there too, and communication between themselves, which has never been great even in their own language because it's not a priority, which makes it like shame on you for working in customer service or forming relationships or having kids if, communication as social creatures is not important to you. And again, guys, you don't like it, I say this kind of stuff, but you keep presenting me the data and you keep not doing anything with it when I offer it back to you, like what it means. You can hate me for it if you want, but the thing is I think deep down is you kind of maybe hate yourselves. I'm doing okay. I'm pretty proud of who I am. I just turned 53, and I say, physically speaking and mentally speaking, I'm way above average, and that includes 23-year-olds. How do you explain that? How do you explain the devolution of your species within one lifespan is now noticeable, because it's been speeding up, that most 23-year-old males, I could be more physically fit and mentally fit as measured compared to them. And I'm 30 years older. I'm more than double their age. How do you explain this? Other than just you hate me for giving you data about the human condition. So I'm thinking to myself, oh, is he the manager? Like, is he going to give me a free meal if I say, hey, you know, I made all these efforts? Like usual, this is a typical thing. It's not like this is the first time, right? So that means if he gives me a coupon for a free meal, it'll be the exact same flaws next time. Because culture repair isn't being applied. So what I'm afraid he doesn't get is he's going to make a really big effort with me to make sure I'm happy on the way out. And he did. He said, thank you for the feedback. You know, thanks for letting us know the soap was out in the bathroom. But the thing is that's just me. I'm giving you cultural pattern stuff. That means you have to now be mindful of this with everybody. That means even with your own friends and family and relationships outside of, you know, your work. It's about communication, and it has to matter when we learn words and what they mean and how to use them and we express them. It has to mean something. It has to make a difference. You understand what I'm saying, people? Because I don't think 99.996% of you do. Or if you do, you just choose not to care.